are the Nitro Warriors, the top guns of the quarter mile.
The nitro methane, the way it shakes the ground and the way it makes you feel, it's just awesome.
Awesome is a word that has been totally abused, but when applied to top fuel dragsters, it's very appropriate. Hello everyone, I'm Big Daddy Don Garland.
And I'm Kenny Youngblood.
And welcome to the Museum of Drag Racing.
We're here to bring you the very best in drag racing entertainment.
And this episode of Nitro Warriors is called Fuelers.
That's right, Big, and we're going to go back to the 1988-89 Super Bowls of drag racing at Firebird Raceway. We'll be seeing some real superstars like Shirley Muldowney and Gary Ormsby.
Boy, now there's a couple of superstars for you, and Shirley was right in her heyday in those days. And of course, Gary Ormsby just practically was unbeatable.
He was the top of the heap back then and sadly no longer with us. We'll be back to the museum then to take a look at some of the neat cars here. So, we'll be right back with Fueler after this break.
So stay tuned. Top Fuel Dragsters, the most powerful racing vehicle on the planet. But you know, it underwent some changes in the 80s. In fact, in the early 80s, Top Fuel nearly went under.
Big, do you think that coincidentally was when you kind of got out of the driver's seat for a while?
Well, it might have contributed some to it, but you know, I think what had happened, it kind of got into the blahs. They were all kind of the same, and there wasn't a lot of innovation going on.
Plus, funny cars were coming on real strong.
Yes, and you know, the funny car had bigger signs, and then, but you know, then the car started getting bigger bodies, and that caused more signage to be on there, and the sponsors kind of got behind it.
Right.
But if you wanted to see Top Fuel Dragsters then toward the middle of the 80s, Firebird Raceway outside of Phoenix was a great place to see them. And I remember we did a show down there once in 1988, and I got a chance to do some TV work.
Right, you and John Lundberg, right on the starting line though.
Right, live stuff, really exciting stuff. You know, the cameras got right up with the cars, and you know, just look right in the drivers' faces and stuff. It was a great show.
And you guys not being in the booth, but right out there on the starting line really added to the action.
And something else, there were some drivers there that you can't see anymore. Tripp Shumake's passed away, Gary Ormsby are gone.
Plus some guys that have now moved on to be crew chiefs, like Connie Coletta and Dick LaHaie.
And now let's take a look at that classic footage from Firebird International Raceway, 1988. John Lundberg and I at trackside doing live coverage. My ears are still ringing to this day from it.
Good morning. This is Firebird International Raceway, scene of the 5th annual Super Bowl of drag racing. We begin the Top Fuel race today with Dick LaHaie, the 1987 Top Fuel World Champion, the #1 qualifier at 5:22. In this race, Don, are 3 other world champions. Dick LaHaie, the current 1987 NHRA champion, Gene Snow, the 1987 IHRA champion, and of course, 1986 champion of NHRA drag racing Joe Amato, and Gary Beck. Pulling to the line now is Gene Snow. Snow is one of 4 Top Fuel champions in today's field. He's also the quickest man in the sport with a 5:08 pass to his credit. The 1987 IHRA World Champion is also an innovator. and he has lived up to that reputation here at the Super Bowl of drag racing. But he's also struggling and could only run a 5:41, good for the number 4 qualifying spot. A new crew chief and a new combination make Snow underdog of the race. Ladies and gentlemen, the cars behind me have started. It's the number 4 against the number 8 qualifier with IHRA 1987 Top Fuel World Champion Gene Snow in the tower lane. In our lane, a 20 car converted to a dragster with Tripp Shumake at the wheel. And it's burnout time at the Super Bowl of drag racing. Well done. Gene Snow is the 1987 IHRA World Champion, but had a bit of teething troubles here as he blew his motor trying to qualify on Thursday. In a tower lane, a converted 20 car. Tires are hot, we're ready to drag race. First heat, first round of the Super Bowl. And coming into stage, Tripp Shumake waits in deep stage. Gene Snow moving up very, very slow. As we thought, Tripp Shumake having problems. Snow goes 5.30 seconds to win, 264.70. And a good step up for Gene Snow, Don.
I figured at 5:41, he's still just kind of getting the feel of that new car, and I anticipate he'll go into the 5:20s on the first round.
Now in the right lane, Connie Conrad Coletta, the bounty hunter from Ypsilanti, Michigan. With a 6.12 second qualifying time, it's time for Coletta to step up right now. Gary Ormsby is in the other lane. Ormsby is qualified in the program number 3 at 5:28.9. So the two cars pull to the starting line almost 9/10 of a second apart. But anybody who's known Connie Coletta as I have for the past 25 years knows that the Ypsilanti, Michigan commercial pilot is not about to waste a round of drag racing. So here he is, ready to go, the bounty hunter in the right lane against the car dealership owner from Southern California, Gary Ormsby.
Coletta has been doing some experimenting with a low compression engine, and that's why his time in qualifying wasn't all that good at a 6:12. So imagine that Coletta is hoping that he's getting his act together right about now.
And there's a dry hop by Coletta, far more aggressive than his original burnout, Don. What's the reason for that?
Well, he's testing. He's like he told you, he's trying that low compression engine, and he's trying to get the horsepower. So he needs heat in that motor.
There it is, number 2, hard burnout for Coletta, trying to build heat as Ormsby with his new Silverlight Top Fuel dragster has backed into stage in the left lane. Coletta now taking his time, pulls his face mask down and rolls the brand new bounty hunter into stage. Here's Ormsby.
Ormsby's out first. Ormsby smokes the tires, but gets there first with a 5:64.
Speed for Gary Ormsby is 254.96 miles per hour. Coletta's runner-up elapsed time almost equal at 5:64, but look at the speed. 20 miles per hour slower at 242.58. The motor just laid down about 800 feet out, didn't it, Don?
Well, plus Coletta was a little late on the light there. You saw Ormsby was out about a half a car on him coming out of the gate, and that's what made the difference with the identical ETs. And of course, Coletta's motor did go down on the top. It was a little sluggish down there. And Ormsby powered by him, even with all the tire smoke that he was generating.
5:72, runner-up elapsed time with a 242 mile per hour speed for Connie Coletta. And ladies and gentlemen, here come the next 2 cars. And this is going to be Joe Amato, number 2 qualifier at 5:26.1. He'll be running against Gary Beck.
Gary Beck qualifies at a 5:66. And that's the best run that I think I have seen out of that McGee engine. That's that double overhead cam engine from Australia that the guys have been up here for years struggling with it. And Gary Beck has went over here and given them a hand, and they seem to have a fuel curve. So we're looking for some good things out of Gary Beck.
Okay, and here comes Amato.
Joe Amato, the world champion, 1984, and then the number 2 man in the world in 1987. A force to be reckoned with, and he has run a 5:26 here.
We are told, Don, that Tim Richards has a very, very conservative combination in this car for this drag race. Because with a brand new race car with the weight moved around a bit, Richards wanted to make sure that the car would move all right with last year's combination before he stepped it up. But if he's going to win this drag race with LaHaie number 1 at a 522, something's going to happen today.
Yeah, he's going to have to step it up, and I imagine it's right now because with Gary Beck's, the McGee engine is shut off. Gary Beck is not in the race. Amato's on a single, so he can stand on it if he wants to. If he smokes the tires, he's still into the next round.
Right, they'll stay close together in the bracket. Amato may be charging off this time for lane choice in the second round. Well, the crowd is cheering behind us, Don. Why?
Well, you see the 519 on the scoreboard. Richards did, in fact, step it up. He's ready for LaHaie. And I guess what you might say, it's back to you, Dick.
And all of a sudden, this is a brand new drag race.
Well, Big, you and John Lundberg really had a rhythm going during that show.
Well, I'll tell you, we really had an energy level because, you know, a 19 in those days was really a trick time. And then for LaHaie to be sitting in the staging lanes right behind and see the number come up on the board, man, that just created some real electricity.
Well, let's see what LaHaie can do when we come back from this break.
Stay tuned.
The next two cars are ready to go.
Can you imagine the thoughts going through Dick LaHaie's mind right now, folks, as he looks down the racetrack and sees the 519 up on the scoreboard? He's strapped in the car, and he doesn't know whether he's going to be able to do that or not, or smoke the tires. And I'll tell you what, from a personal point, that is some real stress, believe me. The worst thing in the world you could do is put a number up on the board like that for your competitor to look at. It's got to run behind you.
And of course, once again, the thing that Dick has been able to count on all through the 1987 season and for the past 3 or 4 is the incredible talent of his daughter, Kim LaHaie, in tuning this vehicle. People at CarCraft magazine honored her last year with an All-Star Crew Chief Award, and she's definitely a factor in the campaigning of this car, is she not, Don?
Yeah, she is a young lady that actually works on the car. She's not just out there for looks.
All right, the gauntlet is thrown. It's no prisoners drag racing here in the last heat of the first round of Top Fuel Eliminator. LaHaie number 1 at 522 against former alcohol dragster pilot Dennis Forcell. Now on nitromethane, number 5 qualifier at 549. It's burnout time. Last heat, first round, Top Fuel Eliminator at the Super Bowl of drag racing.
LaHaie has made a nice burnout. He always makes a good long burnout. He likes a lot of heat in his tires. And you notice LaHaie is one of the fastest cars for backing up in the sport. Sometimes they say he goes faster backwards than forwards.
Dennis Forcell in the tower lane with his brand new Cable Value Network car against the Miller High Life Top Fuel dragster of world champion Dick LaHaie, running against a 519 that LaHaie can see. It's still on the scoreboard at the end of the quarter mile. So let's see what happens as Dick LaHaie charges off down the quarter mile as number 1 qualifier in this program, knowing that 1984 world champion Joe Amato is 300ths a second ahead of him. His best time so far, 522. Amato just ran 519, and now it's time. LaHaie, 517. Don LaHaie just ran 517 at 269 miles an hour. It's no prisoners.
It's like back to you, Joe.
Big, you got a real kick out of that.
Well, you know, those times, that was the lowest in the sport then. The 17s, 18s, 19s, and to see LaHaie run a 17 right behind Amato. You know, that's what drag racing was all about.
Going from hero to zero in one run, the unpredictability of it.
You bet. That's the story of our life, unpredictability.
We're back at the starting line of the Super Bowl of drag racing. This, the second round of Top Fuel Eliminator. 4 competitors left. LaHaie versus Ormsby. LaHaie has lane choice. Amato versus Snow. Amato has lane choice. And again, the story of the first round, Big Daddy Don Garlits was 5:17 by LaHaie and 5:19 by Joe Amato.
Yeah, a truly impressive couple of runs considering both crew chiefs are dealing with new cars, new engine combinations, and a brand new surface here at Firebird.
Tell me, does a guy like Gene Snow with a 530 have a chance to tune up and get back in the program?
Yes, he does. All Amato would have to do is a little slip, and Snow would step up a little, and it could be anybody's race. Definitely Gene Snow has a chance.
Gene Snow and Joe Amato right behind us now. Amato in the left lane, Snow in the right. It's burnout time. Second round, top fuel eliminator.
Both cars make a real good, clean burnout, heating the tires up just right. Both cars are very confident. Gene Snow coming back real quick. But he's going to get back there and do another one of those dry hops.
Dry hop time as two top fuelers come back into stage. Gene Snow, 1987 IHRA champion of drag racing and top fuel. Joe Amato, number 2 in the world by less than 100 points in 1987, facing each other at the first event of the 1988 drag racing season.
Prior to this run, I was talking to Gene Snow, and he says, Big Daddy says, what's that right lane look like? I know Amato's going to put me over there. I said, Gene, I think the lane is just fine because I hadn't seen one oil down here all day. This has been a very clean racetrack today.
Gene Snow pulls down his face cover, wrapped within the confines of a fully encircling helmet and a brand new race car. Joe Amato, like machine. In the last round, Amato ran 5.19 seconds. In the last round, Snow ran 5.30. This is it. An excellent drag race. Winner, Joe Amato, 5:33, 270.27. Runner-up Gene Snow, 5:28, 264.7. And Big Daddy, looks like that race was won right on the starting line.
Yes, it was. Gene was just a little bit late, and that's all it takes in one of these kind of races. And notice how much Amato slowed over there, 5:33.
So as we go into the second heat of second round top fuel eliminator, we're going to have Dick LaHaie come to the starting line to face Gary Ormsby, as it looks like Amato and LaHaie may meet in the final. They've started the engines for the Castrol GTX top fuel dragster of Gary Ormsby in the right lane. Dick LaHaie, 1987 world champion of top fuel eliminator drag racing, in the left lane. It's burnout time for Ormsby.
Now, Ormsby was off his pace just a little bit in round one from qualifying. Qualified at a 5:28, but then slipped to a 5:64 in round number one. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get back on their 5:28 pace.
All right. And there's the guy who's the fastest man on the property this weekend at 5:17. Don, talk for a minute about what it's like to try to pick up 0.4 of a second between rounds.
Oh, it's real difficult, John. It's virtually impossible because usually that takes major equipment changes on the car. You don't get 0.4 of a second by changing a fuel mixture or setting a mag a little bit different. This is a serious thing. Now, if you'd had a real slip and clutch, maybe you could do it. That's something we don't know.
They back in front of us now. A sound that is very difficult to speak over. The thundering, rumbling, ground earth-shattering roar of two 4,000 horsepower, 496 cubic inch V8 engines ready to blast into the twilight zone of drag racing right here at Firebird Raceway. Gary Ormsby at rest in the cockpit of the beautiful Castrol GTX fueler. Dick LaHaie, his daughter Kim, looking at the engine as the world champion rolls forward to stage in his brand new golden white Miller High Life Top Fuel dragster. All right, here we go. Ormsby is in. LaHaie moving in very slowly, as is his pattern.
Now, neither of these guys like the stage first. There goes Ormsby moving in.
They're in. Ormsby was in the lead for a moment, hazes the tires and slows up. LaHaie goes 5:23 to win. 271.90. Ormsby smoking the tires at mid-course, shut off at 6:20, 155.44. What happened, Don?
Oh, there's a case, John, of situation 4/10. He needed 4/10. Well, they tried to get it. They tightened the clutch. They put more nitro in, and the car couldn't handle it. It wasn't set up for that type of a power deal, so what does he do? He spins the tires in the middle of the course.
The die is cast at 2/100ths of a second apart in the first round of Top Fuel drag racing. 1984 Top Fuel World Champion Joe Amato against 1987 Top Fuel World Champion Dick LaHaie in the final round of Top Fuel Eliminator.
Tuning an engine like this is a unique situation. It doesn't have any climate control adjustments like your carburetor Venturi to tell you whether it's rich or leaner. We have to make those adjustments ourselves, and that's based on the barometric pressure, the temperature, and the humidity. We try to take all those factors into account and adjust the fuel mixture so that this engine will make the same amount of horsepower whether it's at 3,000 feet elevation or on sea level. The driver's job is to heat the tires up by the tire spinning in the water and the subsequent burnout. After that technique, we back him carefully into his tracks, and hopefully we'll have enough traction to make a good run. Once the car's backed up, the crew had just about a few precious seconds to check the car over and make sure we have no leaks. Assured Michael that the car's okay and send him to the line with a good feeling. Then the job's up to him.
Boy, isn't that pretty. So simple yet so functional. You know, a stripped down chassis to me is the greatest because I build chassis and that's what I like. And then to watch the crew thrashing like crazy between rounds. That's the way it used to be 10 years ago. Bill Schultz, crew chief of the Over the Hill gang.
What you're looking at here is a Top Fuel dragster stripped of its decorative and functional body panels down to the bare skeleton. On the front here you see the wing mounted in an inverted position to force down on the front end to keep the car from going over backwards. Here we see the small front wheels, and they're this small just for lightweight because you don't need much steerage capability at this speed. They're very light. Here's a custom fuel tank. It holds approximately 20 gallons. Nitromethane at a cost of $25 a gallon, and we burn about 10 gallons each run. These giant lines are necessary to feed that amount of volume to this engine in that amount of time. Here we see the computer. There's several transducers here. This thing records all the pertinent functions on the engine and the car so that we can tell what it's doing after the short 5-second run. The frame is built out of chrome moly and it's space tube construction, as you can see. Very light, but yet very stiff. We have a gas pedal here, clutch pedal. This is a fuel control lever, steering wheel, 2 parachute shutoffs, the brake handle, and the reverser level. Right now we just come back from a run and we're beginning to tear the engine apart. It's a replica of a 65 Dodge engine Hemi that was built a long time ago. So it was a very good design and we're still using it, only with modern updated parts. Between rounds we take this engine completely down, inspect all the bearings, pistons, and everything that there is to look in the motor and put it all back together in an hour. They give us about an hour and a half to do this, so we just have time to start it back up and get ready for the next round. Here we have the safety clutch can area, which a 4-disc clutch resides. This is a clutch controller here. This is the reverser. This is a control box for the clutch, and of course the rear end. These cars are limited to a 320 gear, and they all have that. The wing is a dual element wing built out of carbon fiber, very light but capable of producing very much downforce, and these struts have been a questionable item, and they've been reinforced several times because of wing breakage. 1,960 pounds, 4,000 to 5,000 horsepower. Figure out that power to weight ratio. Nitro fed, that's a Top Fuel dragster. Now, Big, this Super Bowl of drag racing was really a big deal back then. Why were all these guys there?
Well, it was a test session.
What were they testing?
Well, testing everything. It has been winter. They've got new clutches. They've got new superchargers. They've got new injectors. They've got new combinations. And this is a chance to test it before they get to an actual national event.
Well, let's see how good Joe Amato and Dick LaHaie test in this final round.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the final round of Top Fuel Eliminator. They wound up the 1987 drag racing season less than 100 points apart after 13 races. And here they are again, the first race of 1988, facing each other for Top Fuel Eliminator.
It's like they just took over right where they left off.
Yeah, the battle is resumed.
Yes, it is.
And here they come, reigning world champion Dick LaHaie in the Miller High Life Top Fuel Dragster in the left lane, in a tower lane. The Hearst TRW, Old Forge, Pennsylvania-based car of Joe Amato. Now it's burnout time for the Nitro Warriors. LaHaie did nothing but normal between rounds maintenance. And Tim Richards was a little bit disappointed in the power combination in the Joe Amato entry. So, has he tuned it up?
Certainly. He would definitely have to tune it up. He said in a conversation that I had with him before the round that they had not stepped on it, and now they were going to.
Okay. Richards carefully looking over the back end of that Amato machine, hoping against hope that he's done the right things to the engine, and if anybody in drag racing can do it, Tim Richards is the man. The LaHaie family, look at their dad. It's time to go drag racing as Dick LaHaie and Joe Amato step up for the Top Fuel Eliminator final. Nitro Warriors about to... Tremendous run for Amato, aborted as the front wheels come down. LaHaie through. LaHaie wins Top Fuel Eliminator. Dick LaHaie, 524, 272.72 miles per hour. Joe Amato, 697 lifting and a 124 mile per hour trap speed at 124.30.
Oh, it left with power like you wouldn't believe. But you heard us talking about earlier in the day, they didn't want weight on this car. You saw the front end came up. It would not come down. It was going higher and higher, and Joe had to abort the run. He had no choice whatsoever. But they're trying to get this weight regulated on these cars where they don't have to put ballast. But as you can see, they needed 10 pounds on the front of this car at least, and they might have won the race.
We'll have more of Fueler right after this break.
Stay tuned.
Behind us is the pink Top Fuel Dragster of the one and only Shirley Muldowney. And Big, you and Shirley really played quite a role together in the history of drag racing.
Well, we had a lot of races, both in match races and actual real competition. She was fierce.
But was the competition as tough back then with her as ever?
Well, I could say it wasn't, but actually I think it was just as tough back in those days because we had a lot less to do with and a lot less people to do it. So I think it was just as hard to race in as it is now.
And who was really putting the most notches on the gun?
I'm not going to make a statement because I don't want to start any ephus, but let's just say it was pretty even up.
Oh, good. Let's go to a race where Shirley competed, and that, of course, was the '89 Super Bowl of drag racing. Not only Shirley, but some other stars that we don't see anymore, like Earl Whiting out of the Northwest, and, of course, back then, Gary Ormsby really had a stranglehold on Top Fuel.
Oh, he was tough. His passing was a real loss to the sport.
It was. Let's go to the first round of the Super Bowl of drag racing 1989.
Set? You guys set? Let's fire them up, guys!
That's the sound we've been waiting all winter for. A sound of a top fuel dragster coming to life. 4,000 horsepower, supercharged, fuel injected on nitromethane, and here we go with the first pair of top fuelers here at Firebird. In the right-hand lane out of Oregon, it's the longer turn drag racer. Here comes Earl Whiting. And his competition in the right-hand lane. The California-based Posey and Murdoch car with Robert Reel at the throttle. Two of the best top fuel dragsters in the country right now, getting ready to do battle here at Firebird. This is the first race of the season, their first chance to try out everything they've learned all winter. The crew chief's busy checking over everything as they back up towards the starting line. The track is in excellent shape here today at Firebird. These drivers are looking for some big numbers and some quick speeds. The sounds of these engines is deafening. It's unbelievable how loud they are. And the air starting to fill with the fumes of nitromethane. Side-by-side start immediately. Reel goes up in smoke and Whiting streaks to a win. A 5:25 elapsed time, and the crew is going to be happy about that one. This is Dick LaHaie, former NHRA world champion from Lansing, Michigan in the Miller High Life car. He'll be taking on the richest Texan in drag racing, Mr. Gene Snow. He's out of Fort Worth, Texas. He's a millionaire oil man, and he spends all his money on his hobby racing his top fuel dragster. Blower on the burnout. Boy, his day's over real quick. So it's going to be a single run for Dick LaHaie. Now, LaHaie's act is unique because his crew chief on this car is his daughter, Kim. Let's take another look at Gene Snow's blower explosion from another angle. Look at how violently that motor explodes, the fire, the smoke, unreal. So, Kim LaHaie backs up her dad, driving for Larry Miner, the world's fastest potato farmer. LaHaie, a former world champion, would like nothing better than to regain that crown for this 1989 season. Now, his daughter Kim, the crew chief, and her boyfriend Tommy Cattleman have tuned this car to perfection. They are one of the toughest teams in the sport, and a lot of other crew chiefs watch these guys as they run, seeing what they can pick up. So LaHaie's made his burnout, is now bringing it up to the starting line, goes off on a single run, and gets a little out of shape and has to backpedal, and Kim is disgusted about that.
Big, we're about to get back to the action at the Super Bowl there. And you know, back then, Gary Ormsby and Shirley Muldowney, we're going to see them race in this next sequence. And Gary was really at the top of the game in top fuel. And Big, if you remember, Shirley was still recovering from that horrendous crash that she had up in Canada. Just about everybody was counting her out.
Well, that is everybody except Shirley. She thought she was going to win the whole thing.
Surely you must be joking.
I'm not joking, and don't call me Shirley.
Okay, fired and running. Here comes the next pair. Out of Mount Clemens, Michigan, the first lady of drag racing, Shirley Muldowney. She'll be taking on one of the quickest men in the sport, the go-man himself, Mr. Gary Ormsby. Now, Shirley suffered a horrific crash in 1985. People told her she'd never drive again, but look at her. She's out here today at Firebird. successful car dealer from Roseville, California. Loves to be a full-time drag racer, and he's out each and every week with his Castrol car. Muldowney's a full-time racer. She's a legend in the sport of drag racing. She eats, lives, and sleeps drag racing. She even married her crew chief, Ron Tolber, who has worked with her for many, many years, and Shirley got married last year, and it's a marriage made in heaven. These guys work together real well, and the hot pink car is ready for an assault on the 1989 season. At a 5.08, 278 miles per hour, a great pass. Next up, it's the Professor Frank Hawley, owner and proprietor of the drag racing school, now driving for Larry Minor. He'll be taking on Jolton Joe Amato, defending world champion in his TRW car. Backing up now towards the starting line. Amato's the guy that everybody's going to be taking a shot at this season. He's the defending world champion, and he wants to regain that crown. Now, Hawley's the professor, and a lot of his students are out there watching him, and he can't screw up. Fury of 4,000 horsepower as it idles towards the starting line. They leave as one side by side, but Amato looks like he's going to teach the professor a lesson. He does a 5:15 elapsed time, takes the win. That's it for the first round of Top Fuel. Second round of Top Fuel, and what a race we're going to have here. It's like the instant replay of last year's final round. These two guys met last year, Dick LaHaie and Joe Amato. Amato was the loser that time, and he's got revenge in his eyes this year. It's a confident Joe Amato sitting in the driver's seat of the candy apple red TRW car as Kim LaHaie tightens her dad's shoulder harnesses, and we're getting ready for second round action. Kim runs towards the starting line to meet her dad as Amato watches the general's left hand for the burnout signal. Tom Cattleman lines up Dick LaHaie on the starting line as Amato pulls into stage. Two world champions, one of the most intense rivalries in Top Fuel racing going on right here. Both drivers have the same goal, a win here and a shot at the final round. A whole shot for Amato, it looks like he's going to smoke him. And he does with a 5.09. Ormsby's crew chief Lee Beard checks the track. They've got lane choice, they pick the right lane as Earl Whiting looks down track. Ormsby is deadly serious about winning the 1989 World Championship. He's planning an all-out assault on it, and he's putting it all in the hands of this man, Lee Beard, an 18-year veteran of fuel racing. Smoke, and more smoke. The burnout designed to heat up those rear tires for more traction. Tim Farrell, Whiting's crew chief, goes out to meet him and guide him back towards the starting line as Gary Ormsby brings the Castrol GTX Streamliner back towards the starting line. Whiting's crew calls over Bob Brooks of AFT Clutches to take a look at their car. Beard takes one final last look at the starting line as he lines up Ormsby, and Whiting's crew gets the okay from Brooks.
Gary Ormsby was really at the top of his game then, wasn't he? And the man to beat in Top Fuel.
Yes, he was. He was the baddest of the bad. And then one other little thing that a lot of people don't know, Gary Ormsby was suffering from terminal cancer. So he was giving it his best shot. He wanted every day to be the best day of his life. And it showed in his racing.
We'll be right back with the final round action from the Super Bowl of Drag Racing 1989 edition, so stay tuned.
We're ready for the Top Fuel final here at Firebird. The fastest accelerating vehicles in the world, about 300 inches long, made out of chrome moly tubing, covered with aluminum and magnesium body panel, a 4,000 horsepower supercharged, fuel-injected, nitro-burning racing engine for the power. These cars go 0 to 60 in less than a second. It's West versus East in the Top Fuel final in the left-hand lane out of California. Driving the Castrol GTX car, it's Gary Ormsby, the go-man. He'll be taking on defending world champion out of Old Forge, Pennsylvania, Joe Amato in the TRW Keystone Auto Parts Special. Now, both of these cars have run very, very well today. Amato was the #1 qualifier. Ormsby was right behind him. But in the game of drag racing, anything can happen, and it usually does. Okay, now the sun is starting to set. It's starting to go down. The air is getting cooler. What that means is that these cars are going to make a lot more horsepower. The cooler the air, the more horsepower these engines generate. And it's up to the crew chiefs to tune these engines for that condition. Now, one thing these crew members are going to look for are the header flames. This time of day, you can see the actual fire coming out of those pipes, and they can see whether a cylinder's firing or not. That's a good indication on whether or not they're going to drop a cylinder. Amato takes one last look at Ormsby in the other lane as he brings his car to the starting line. This is a very important race for both of these guys. They want to get this title. Both in pre-stage. Now they're staged. Oh, great start by Ormsby. Boy, did he tree Amato. Jeez, all the way he takes it. A 5.16 to a quicker but losing 5.13 by Amato. Amato blew it on the starting line, and Gary Ormsby gets the first victory of the 1989 season.